I was challenged by my friend Tim Barnett from the YouTube channel Red Pin Logic to answer in 3 minutes or less 10 atheist objections to belief in God.
Okay, well, this sounds interesting, and I challenge me from my channel with my name on it to check your answers and give it a rating from dumbass bullshit to fair point, but that still doesn't mean God does the real. I will be applying this rubric by completely forgetting I even said it and making fun of you anyway, because I'll be shocked if I even need the second response.
In fact, this comes from a YouTube comment from an atheist named Brian Doyle, who says that this is 10 ways to prove that a God does not exist. You know it's an atheist because he puts God in lowercase g unnecessarily just to get you.
Wow, you took that really personally, didn't you? No, it couldn't possibly be that he just didn't think about it at all, that you have, in fact, taken far more from this bit of grammar than could ever possibly be demonstrated. I mean, maybe he did do that to make you mad, but the fact that you clearly let it is pretty funny, to the point where we need a new way to write it, to make sure that you know we're actually trying to upset you. I propose odd, and the one piece of deliberate grammar that you are going to completely ignore is the fact that he wrote quote unquote proves, meaning that he probably doesn't think that these even combined are absolute proofs against God, and almost certainly doesn't think that these will individually destroy the theism guys.
So I accepted Tim's challenge to try to, in 3 minutes or less, do this. He's going to do it on his channel as well. Here's my attempt to defuse the atheist bomb in 3 minutes. 10 reasons that you would stop being a believer in God.
Again, considering the old scare quotes, I read that as more 10 things to consider when it comes to the idea God does the real. And after perusing them myself, they certainly aren't some ultra strong, unshakable arguments. And I think that ROP knows that very well. The fact that you can't seem to understand that gives me very low expectations for the quality of your replies. Perfect, this should be really fun. Oh, and spoilers, it was.
Let's see if I can do this and keep us all from becoming atheists in the next 3 minutes. Because I'm pretty sure if I can't answer these things in 3 minutes or less, the atheist bomb will blow up and we will all become atheists.
Funny thing is, that speaks directly to how, at least in my experience, lists like these, when made from a theist standpoint, are believed to destroy atheism. Where again, this guy clearly isn't trying to do that to theism. Projection, thy name is Mike Winger.
And to read the objections, allow me to introduce my improvisational atheist friend, Mick. 10 ways to prove that a God does not exist.
You know, Mick looks like a prick. Reminds me of someone, but I can't put my finger on who, because that would involve touching him, and no one wants to touch Mike.
Let's get started. Number 1. The fact that a human being has to tell you about the existence of your God proves there is no God. We would be born with knowledge of its existence. Babies aren't born knowing anything at all. How strange to suppose they will be born knowing about God.
Not in a universe with a higher power who can do literally anything, though. In fact, if they did come out of the womb instantly putting on the preacher spiel with the fancy outfits and the flying in private jets, just like Jesus would have wanted, it would be a really good way to prove that God did do a real. How strange that you missed that point.
But research has shown that humans are predisposed to believe in supernatural agency behind the world. God belief will crop up in humans unless indoctrination pushes it out. So by your own standard, Brian, this is actually evidence for God.
Oh my, that is a hell of a claim there, matey boy. And whether you meant to make it or not, it's there, sitting on my face like a big lump of stupid. Your claim here implies that the only way that one could arrive at the conclusion that there ain't no God is if they are specifically indoctrinated into that conclusion. This is, of course, fucking nonsense, as many people come to that conclusion completely independently. But also begs the question of, if God is something people will conclude all on their lonesome, why do you need to tell anyone at all? And seems to completely fucking refute your previous people ain't know nothing about God idea. Just because they're not babies anymore doesn't mean that it didn't come out of nowhere. Do you even understand your own arguments?
Number 2. A God belief is simply geography. Being raised in a religious home decides which God you believe in. What surprises me with this one is that it's based on an official logical fallacy called the genetic fallacy. Basically, you can't prove a belief wrong by criticizing where it came from, Richard Dawkins.
Is it the genetic fallacy, though? I'm not so sure. I mean, if it was meant to be disproving God specifically, then perhaps. But it's not really trying to do that. It's about demonstrating a thing we would expect if we lived in a world with no God, and especially one where a bunch of people came up with different notions of such. And the fact that so many religious beliefs are highly predicted by familial relationships, and not say the fact that you just know which God is the one true boy, is at the very least a little bit weird in a universe where there is one God who wants, nay demands, that you know who he is and worship him as such.
What's equally embarrassing for those who hold to number 2 is that by their own standard, their atheism is just a result of where they were born, and therefore they can't be trusted about atheism. So it's fallacious and self-refuting.
No one knows if they are right is almost universally the atheist position, you fucking doofus. It is, in fact, a strengthening of that position to those of us who understand how words work in any capacity.
Number 3. There was no time before the Big Bang, so that means that there was no time for a God to exist or create things in. Now, this objection actually touches on a powerful reason to believe in God.
Don't touch me!
Since the universe is space, time, matter, and energy, then the thing that made the universe needs to be spaceless, timeless, immaterial, and incredibly powerful.
Needs? How could you possibly know that? You're not thinking extra universally, although I would argue thinking at all is a stretch. The actual status of a before the universe is an unknown, and could be anything, including really similar to the universe as we know it, but also very, very different. All this is I decided God must do because I decided God must do, and isn't actually an explanation that anyone can prove.
The timeless nature of the origin of all things is another piece of evidence for God.
Only if you ignore the fact that it isn't evidence for shit other than we don't know. Also, God isn't the only possible concept of a timeless being. Many supernatural ideas ignore time without being the literal creators of the universe.
Number 4. The Abrahamic God cannot exist because it wasn't the first God to be created. There are other gods that have been proclaimed to exist before this God. They can't all be true, so if we can deny the existence of one of these gods, we can use the same method to deny them all.
This is what he thinks of you as an atheist, by the way. And what's really, really fucking funny is how far he's about to miss the mark, while seemingly implying that we are in fact the smug dipshit. I would send the irony police to arrest this man, but they are surprisingly busy these days for some reason.
This one is seriously confused. It assumes that God was created when Abraham existed, but that assumes atheism to prove atheism. Then it says that if all gods aren't real, then no God is real. That's like saying fake Van Goghs prove there are no real Van Goghs.
Claiming something to be confused when you clearly didn't fucking understand it is a bit rich, Mike. It's not just about Yahweh springing up in a world that already had a bunch of other gods in it, but also that the arguments that rebuke all those other gods work just as effectively against your guy. And the Van Gogh thing, are you fucking dense? Van Gogh was real, and more importantly, we know exactly who he was and have ways of detecting which paintings are real ones of his and which are not. The same cannot be said, and I cannot stress this enough, for literally any fucking god, no matter how much you think you totally can.
Number 5. God either allows the devil to exist and is an accomplice, or it isn't an all-powerful God. An all-powerful and loving God wouldn't allow the devil to exist. Isaiah 45 verse 7, King James Version. Many reasonable explanations have been offered as to why God allows evil.
Reasonable, however, is not the same thing as correct, or even, remotely compelling. And hell, what you think of as reasonable is also just like your opinion, man. I actually find that every explanation for that objection, at least that I have been presented with, well, they're all incredibly unreasonable, mostly because they are. And the fact that you decided against even alluding to one of them, even in this short time, makes me think that you know that.
And if they are even possibly true, then this objection fails. And that's why no scholars today promote this objection. On Isaiah 45:7, where it says God created evil, I have a whole video on that linked in the description below.
Possibly true doesn't make them fail. What the hell are you talking about? If something is possibly true, it's also possibly false. And I don't believe you that no scholars whatsoever raised that objection. That is almost certainly what we call a pile of hot steaming garbage, like the Bible.
Number 6. The God of the Bible is jealous of other gods. This proves that this God is not the only one. With multiple choices only shows that there is no reason to choose just one. If a God were true, there would be no other options. I don't even know where to begin with this one.
Well, I'm not going to lie, that is fucking unsurprising considering the poor quality of your responses thus far. I can only assume that you don't know how to reply to it at all in any way that doesn't make you sound like a fucking giant moron. But I only say that because, all of the things that you say.
First, if you're taking the Bible as true, which this objection depends on, then you realize that these other gods are at worst fake or at best demons and lesser spiritual beings, ontologically nothing like God Almighty.
It absolutely doesn't take the Bible as true. It takes it as pretending to be true. That's not the same thing. And even while it's pretending to be true, it fails to make a God with coherent motivations. A God that is the only God literally should not give a shit about the possibility of other fake gods and call them out as such with no need to be jealous of them. The language is the problem, and it's not our language. It's yours. Don't blame us if your book says something stupid and we point it out. Blame the book.
And number 2, on God's jealousy, since the worship of false gods requires people to treat those gods as if they're real by sacrificing to false gods, going to temples, doing sexual rituals, God can be jealous for those people with or without those gods being real.
Jealous for those people? What fresh nonsense is this? I mean, that's still your boy being worried about his competition for favor. And in the Bible itself, it's not like he gives much of a shit about those other gods when it comes to the foreigners believing in them. It's when his people do it. Almost like they could come in and become their new actually real God. Also, why does the Bible even call them gods if they aren't that? You would think if they weren't gods, it wouldn't. It's almost like the bits that say that were written before some bright spark decided, oh wait, it would be way better if it's just one God.
Number 3, you're literally taking a warning passage about worshiping false gods and using it as an excuse to reject the true God.
Missing the point again so hard that I'm surprised you even know one exists at all, as you fly past it at speeds hitherto unknown to mortal man. If there is a God, it's you, Mike. God of not fucking getting shit.
Number 7, there is no evidence that spirit energy exists. So we can conclude that psychics, ghosts, and gods are non-existent. Otherwise, God has nothing to be made of. Christianity does not depend on the existence of spiritual energy any more than it depends on the existence of Santa's flying sleigh.
Oh my Mike. Dude, he's clearly using spiritual energy to mean any mystical or supernatural force that may or may not make up various unprovable beings or phenomena.
God isn't made of something that is part of creation. If he was, it would actually be a good reason to reject belief in God in the Christian sense.
Okay, but you're still missing the point that there is absolutely nothing that seems to suggest any kind of supernatural things. Full stop. No proof for any supernatural things includes there not being proof for, what was he called again? Oh, that's right, God.
Number 8, there is no such thing as nothing. For nothing to exist would cause it to be something. Creationists believe that God created the universe out of literally nothing. Oh my, the only people I've actually heard say that nothing is something are atheists.
Really? Who? And in what way do they mean that? Because I can't say I've heard any of them call nothing literally something. I have heard a lot of theists say that's what atheists say, but for some reason, I don't think them telling us what we think is quite the same thing as us thinking it.
Like, look at physicist Lawrence Krauss, who likes to promote that view.
But they refuse to accept the idea that nothing might be a physical quantity.
Hold up, that's a physicist talking, presumably, about physics. And he's not saying it's a fact, only that it's a consideration, something to actually think about when you are talking about everything else. I know, talking to Mike about thinking, it's like having a discussion with a dog about the molten core of the earth.
But since we agree that nothing's really nothing, the universe appearing from nothing is powerful evidence for a transcendent creator God.
Or it's incoherent gibberish. And also, atheists don't say the universe comes from nothing. At least the ones who actually know what the science is. They, in fact, tend to say, we don't fucking know. And guess what we don't know isn't a representation of? You guessed it, nothing.
Number 9. This is not a finely tuned world created with us in mind. The sun gives you cancer, most of the water's undrinkable, and diseases run rampant. If there was an intelligent designer, there wouldn't be any mistakes. That's like saying that cars aren't fine-tuned driving machines because they can cause car accidents.
Holy f***, is that countdown timer actually a representation of your current IQ? Because you seem to be getting dumber by the minute. No, that can't be right, because that would mean it started at like 300, and that's just really unlikely. Perhaps 30. Nah, that's not really fair. It definitely started at 3. The problem that cars can be in car accidents has nothing to do with the fact that they are designed to go beep beep vroom. It's the fact that human beings are fallible, useless creatures that all suck at driving. Don't lie, it's literally fucking all of you. I have seen roads. This would only work as an analogy if cars literally fucking exploded like 99.99 recurring % of the time, analogous in this instance to the amount of universe that kills us, and then saying, well, on extremely rare occasions they don't do that, therefore perfectly designed no notes.
Fine-tuning is present in the universe because the odds are astronomical that any intelligent life could exist without it being just the way it is. But fine-tuning doesn't mean perfectly safe and without dangers.
Perfectly safe and without dangers versus even the planet that you live on that was totally designed for you will kill you stone dead in the vast majority of it if you aren't using some pretty serious equipment. If I made a toy that impaled 9 out of 10 children that picked it up, I wouldn't expect to be getting some design awards anytime soon, let alone the ignorant clapping praise of millions, no sorry, billions of fucking idiots.
Number 10. Evolution is obviously true. This means that we weren't created by magic and are somehow superior to the animal kingdom. No creator, no God. Evolution, if you do accept it, is just another reason to believe in God.
Okay, this ought to be a good one. The concept that so many fucking theists have to outright reject because of how much it makes the Bible and its contents sound like gibberitic nonsense. No, it actually proves it even more. I can't fucking wait to find out how, but only because you're really working hard to set yourself up for utter failure with this one. Honestly, it's like you're being as wrong as purpose on possible. Wait, what?
If an explosion can make all this through natural processes, then it was an explosion that was very highly specialized and engineered by an intelligence that wanted this to happen.
Oh, come on. I knew that he would fuck it up, but I didn't realize he was going to do it whilst completely misunderstanding multiple fields of science in the same goddamn sentence. You know, I'm almost impressed. A, the Big Bang is not a fucking explosion, and B, the theory of evolution has basically nothing to do with the Big Bang. Seriously, it's like you are professionally wrong. And in a way, I guess you kind of are.
So that's how I did. Hopefully I defused those 10 issues, 10 proofs before the bomb blew up. I don't know. Maybe we're all atheists now.
It seems that you failed so hard that you didn't even actually finish your point on the Big Bang and evolution. In fact, I would posit that you completely overshot your time. That, or you can't even make that argument in a coherent fashion. Both are equally plausible, but yeah, you need to demonstrate how or why a god that claims to have made all the animals the way they currently are somehow also used evolution to slowly change them all to completely different things. Fuck, even the creationists do a better job of this than you have. And those guys are fucking idiots.
Now I'm passing this challenge on to Tim Barnett to do the same 3-minute atheist challenge.
Well, if he's a friend of yours, I can only assume that his response is going to be just as logically consistent and scientifically/philosophically literate as yours. You know, maybe trying to answer some not even all that amazing atheist critiques is something that you can't do in 3 minutes without sounding like a fucking idiot. Although I am not convinced that given more time, you wouldn't sound even fucking dumber. Bye!
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel, Spoon Staff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the